The black fog. The night was still, but the darkness was alive. Thick, suffocating fog rolled in, swallowing the streetlights and erasing the world beyond a few feet. It was not the usual mist. It was heavy, unnatural, and clung to the skin like damp fingers. It reeked of decay, of something ancient stirring beneath its shroud. Mara walked alone, her breath visible in the cold air. She was used to late-night shifts, used to walking this lonely path home. But tonight was different. The silence was too deep, the blackness too complete. Her phone's flashlight barely cut through the void, the light seeming to drown rather than illuminate. The fog absorbed it greedily, drinking in its glow like a living thing. Then she heard it, a whisper, not from behind, not from ahead, but from everywhere. A voice, low and breathy, repeating her name. Mara! Mara! She froze. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Who's there? She called, forcing strength into her voice. Silence. Then, movement in the fog. A shifting, a stirring as if something enormous had just taken a step. A slow, deliberate step. The air thickened, pressing against her lungs, making every breath a struggle. She turned to run, but the fog wrapped around her, pressing against her body like unseen hands, cold and clammy. Her feet sank into the ground, the pavement turning into something soft, swallowing her heels. A terrible sensation crawled up her spine, like fingers brushing against her skin, unseen but unmistakably real. She screamed. No sound came out. A shape emerged, a silhouette darker than the night itself. No face, no features, just a void in the form of a man. It raised an arm, long and distorted, stretching toward her. The whispering grew louder, a chorus now, chanting her name in unison, voices overlapping, distorting. Mara struggled, fought against the invisible pull, but her limbs felt numb, drained of warmth, as though something was siphoning the life from her. Coldness seeped into her veins, dragging her down, pulling her into the blackness. Shadows slithered along her skin, wrapping around her wrists, her throat, tightening, tight. The last thing she saw was its hollow, empty face leaning close, so close she could feel its breath, except it had no mouth. Then, the world vanished into darkness. The next morning, the fog lifted. The town woke to find Mara's footprints ending abruptly in the middle of the street. No body, no trace, just the whisper of her name lingering in the wind. The news spread quickly. Friends and neighbors whispered about Mara's disappearance, but no one dared to go near the spot where her footprints ended. The pavement was oddly cold, unnaturally smooth, as if something had wiped away any sign of existence. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, the fog began to creep back in, tendrils slithering through the streets like ghostly fingers. The whispering returned, faint at first, then louder. This time, it wasn't just Mara's name. New names were being spoken. The following nights were worse. The fog returned like clockwork, thick and relentless, covering more and more of the town. People locked their doors, turned their lights on, but it did not matter. The whispers seeped through the walls, their names called in the dead of night. Some awoke to find the fog pressing against their windows, curling under doors, stretching through keyholes like hungry hands. Then the disappearances began. First, it was a man on his way home from the night shift, gone without a trace, his footsteps ending in the same eerie manner as Mara's. Then a child, vanished from her own bed, her blanket left on the floor, still warm. A woman was last seen gasping in terror at her doorstep before being swallowed whole by the creeping blackness. Panic gripped the town. The police searched for answers, but there was nothing to find. No bodies, no signs of struggle, only the lingering cold and the unnatural silence left behind. Fear grew. People started leaving in droves, but those who remained noticed something terrifying. The fog was learning. It no longer just took people who wandered into it. It came for them. It slithered through the streets with purpose, tendrils reaching for the hesitant and the weak. The whispering grew more insistent, the voices overlapping until they were no longer just calling names. They were pleading, weeping, begging. Some claimed they heard Mara's voice among them, distant and broken, crying out from within the abyss. And then one night, the town itself began to fade. Streetlights flickered and never turned back on. Houses collapsed into the shadows without a sound. Roads ended abruptly in nothingness. The fog devoured everything. Wood, brick, steel, flesh, until only an empty blackened void remained where the town had once stood. A couple, fleeing in desperation, found the road stretching endlessly, looping back into the fog no matter which direction they turned. The car's headlights only revealed endless black. Then the gas ran out. The engine sputtered and died. The whispering came next, wrapping around them, crawling into their ears like insects burrowing deep. When they turned, a dozen empty ape silhouettes loomed outside the car windows, watching. Wait, the doors unlocked by themselves. A police officer, searching for survivors, found himself standing in the same street over and over again, his radio hissing static, his breath quickening. He fired his gun at the shadows, but the bullets only disappeared into the fog. Then his flashlight flickered and died. The last sound he heard was his own name whispered right into his ear before the darkness swallowed him. A priest, clutching his cross, prayed frantically in his church as the fog seeped through the stained glass windows, warping the images of saints into twisted, grinning figures. The walls pulsed as if alive, and the pews cracked and splintered, writhing like something was crawling beneath the wood. The priest's final words were lost in a scream as the fog surged forward. The world moved on, maps were redrawn, history quietly erased the place that had once been,